Number 10. Lord Iron. I will never turn up the chance to talk about Marvel 1602, otherwise known as Earth 311. This Earth takes a bunch of the Marvel characters we love and plops them in the Elizabethan era. And yes, that includes Iron Man. Going by the name Anthony Stark and Lord Iron, his armor is powered by quote-unquote lightning bottles, and was created when Anthony was captured in the Holy Land during the English-Spanish Wars, and treated rather harshly by the Hulk, resulting in the requirement of the suit to survive. Anthony is sent on a mission to hunt down Banner in the New World with his technologically advanced suit. Now look, this suit in comparison to other versions of Iron Man, it's not the most advanced and powerful suit, but when looked at with the scope of the technology at the time, it's centuries ahead of its time, being nearly on par with base Iron Man armors, only it has a super sweet lightning sword. Like, damn bro, it's nice.
Number 9. Original Tony. Technically I'm talking about a version of 616 Tony here, but this isn't even really like the 616 Tony. Not the one we have now anyways, although at one point this was the 616 Tony. This version of Tony ended up getting amalgamated with his younger self to give us the version that we have now, because this version ended up fighting his younger self. Yep. It all happened as part of the Crossing event. Ah yes, the Crossing event. What a marvelous time. During that event, it was revealed that Tony was actually a sleeper agent for Immortus, aka an alternate name and persona of Kang the Conquerors. He is activated and ends up becoming somewhat unstoppable when it comes to the Avengers' power to defeat him, and Kang. Instead, they enlist the help of a younger Tony Stark from the past, who actually almost dies fighting against his older self. In the end, however, Tony has a change of heart, and he basically sacrifices himself to save his friends and the world from Kang. However, as I said, this version of him would later be resurrected and then amalgamated with the younger Tony, who remained in 616 in his place. Together, they would give us the Tony Stark that we know and love today in the comics.
Number 8. Exiles. Tony Stark, the undisputed monarch of Earth. What? Take a man with the intelligence, wealth, and power of Anthony Stark and make him unbothered by any kind of sense of morality. That's a man who can bring the world to its knees, but has the sense to not let them know it, and then be begged to take charge. Tony Stark of Earth 42777 acquired every world conglomerate. He organized a mutant war against humanity and then defeated their leader, Magneto, created a worldwide famine, the likes of which was never seen before, and then invented the cures and vaccines to fix it, and then he got elected president. He developed weather-controlling technologies to create biblical-level natural disasters in Europe and Asia, having them beg for help to the point of giving up control. Central America and Canada had economic down spirals that brought them into the fold too, and he made a deal with Dr. Doom, who had attacked the Capitol and then taken out all the other democratic leaders in America, who he also destroyed after receiving a blast to the face that left him disfigured just like Emperor Palpatine. He's D-Life the Hulk. This version of Tony Stark is ruthless and powerful.
Number 7. Shuri. Shuri is actually Black Panther's sister, and I gotta say, I love her as Black Panther. Shuri actually always wanted to be Black Panther ever since she was a young girl. At one point, her brother T'Challa agrees to train Shuri to help her prepare for becoming Black Panther should that day ever come. And come it did, so I guess it's good they did that training. Black Panther at one point becomes the king of the underworld, ruling alongside Bast, and in his place, Shuri is crowned queen, and also takes up the mantle of Black Panther. Like her brother, Shuri is exceptionally smart, strong, and is also a skilled fighter. Number 6. Cole Tiger. T'Chaka II is the son of T'Challa from the MC2 alternate Earth/future. T'Chaka is named after his grandfather, T'Challa's father, which is also why he's the second of that name. T'Chaka can transform into a panther-like human hybrid and goes by the name of Cole Tiger in this universe. In his animal-like form, he is considered even more powerful in terms of his strength, speed, agility, and senses. We don't know who his mother is in this universe, I don't think, but MC2 is a universe filled with heroes' kids who grow up and basically become supers in their own right, such as Spider-Woman, aka May Parker, who also hails from MC2 or Earth 982 and is the daughter of Spider-Man and Mary Jane Watson Parker. And it's also pretty much the reason why we have that universe, which is a cool one, so yay.
At number 5 we have Dark Claw. This is a fun one, but it's also arguably a very underestimated Wolverine variant, all things considered. For those of you who don't know Darkclaw, he's basically a combination between Wolverine and Batman. The Amalgam comics showed different heroes from the Marvel universe merging with those of the DC universe, and the result of Wolverine and Batman coming together is a pretty powerful new hero. There's not much more to report than the obvious, which is just that Wolverine and Batman's abilities are combined, But if you really think about it, there's only power gain for Wolverine in this amalgamation. With all the power that Wolverine already has, met with the innovative genius mind of Bruce Wayne, the possibilities for this variant are basically endless. At number 4, we have General James Howlett from Earth 12025. Appearing mostly in Volume 2 of Extreme X-Men, this highly decorated hero is known to be the most powerful in this reality. This version of Wolverine's bones are actually coated in adamantine, which is a mystical metal that comes from the ancient Greek gods of Olympus. The metal keeps him immune from telepathy, and it's also known to be more powerful than adamantium. Adamantine, adamantium. They're different. Adamantium, of course, being the one that the original Wolverine relies on. The adamantine is so strong that it even keeps Wolverine safe from attacks from Thor's hammer. Plus, this guy has some pretty cool titles attached to his name and is an explorer working for the government of Canada. So he just seems like a cool dude on top of everything else. Did I say dude? I meant god. He's basically a god. At number 3, we have Weapon H. So this variant is the result of what happens when you mix together Wolverine and the Hulk into one guy. And what you get is a superpowered Hulk with an adamantium skeleton and, of course, the retractable claws. But he still has the ability to switch back to his human form on command despite his frame being coated in the metal. The only downside for this variant that I could think of is the same thing that gives the Hulk a disadvantage. His rage can sometimes be too much for him to handle, keeping him from making sound tactical decisions at times. But regardless, the sheer power that this variant holds is enough, as Dr. Alba theorizes, to kill every living thing on Earth. This is a relatively new character, so I'm interested to see where he goes. I guess we'll all see. At number 2, we have Weapon Omega. Aside from just looking pretty cool, Weapon Omega is undoubtedly one of the most powerful variants of Wolverine in any reality. This guy has all the powers of Wolverine with the added abilities of Apocalypse. So yes, he's basically immortal and can teleport, and also use mind control, shift in size on command, and fly. Not to mention the huge blaster that's replaced one of his claw arms, and the crazy armor that he's got equipped at all times as well. Also remember, he's still got his healing abilities, even if someone did get close enough to do any damage on this guy, which I doubt is a very easy feat to accomplish, and sort of pointless considering he never dies. Weapon Omega eventually takes over for Apocalypse as leader of the Horsemen, solidifying his position as one of the most powerful variants of Wolverine in his political influence as well. Finally, at number 1, I'm putting Phoenix Force Wolverine, because there's really no comparing Phoenix Force to any other entity in terms of power, at least as far as Wolverine variants go. When possessed by Phoenix Force, Wolverine has the ability to manipulate matter at will, as well as warping reality and the fabric of the multiverse. Not to mention, if he wanted to, he could do what Dark Phoenix does and gain more power by consuming the energy of stars throughout the cosmos, if he so chooses. It's almost like his adamantium claws don't really add any extra gusta to his power set at this point, because instead of taking a stab at someone, he could just, you know, think about them being a pile of ashes and it would happen. He's such a powerful variant that he eventually reigns over the cosmos in a future alternate reality, something that old King Thor observes for himself. So yeah, Phoenix Force Wolverine at number 1. At number 10 is Feral Wolverine. This version of the hero is not given added power by any upgrades or magical augmentation, but by his own sheer will to cause harm. What happens is that Wolverine's adamantium is ripped out by Magneto through the pores of his skin, which is, of course, very painful and traumatic. So he gets extremely angry and loses all control as he's thrown into a blind rage to get revenge on Magneto. But aside from Wolverine's pain-driven fury, Magneto actually activates a new mutation that he didn't know was being held back by the adamantium in Wolverine. And this mutation basically turns him into an animalistic version of himself that is closer to an untamed beast than his usual strategic and tactically aware self. The only downside of this version of Wolverine is that he's so unhinged that he's not able to control any strategic approach to battle. At number 9 is Helverine. When the Red Right Hand sets their sights on Wolverine, acting on their strange grudge against him specifically, they banish Logan's soul and replace it with that of a demon. So, a demonic version of Wolverine is created and makes the superhero even more powerful, sending him into a demonic rage, killing many of Logan's friends in one bloody frenzy. It takes a lot of effort for the X-Men to finally subdue Wolverine, requiring the whole team alongside Jean Grey as well as Logan's own soul to battle the demon out of Wolverine's body for good. This version of Wolverine shows how strong it is in a very short time, leaving Logan's friends and us readers alike hoping that the Red Right Hand will finally just leave Logan alone. At number 8 is Laura Kinney. Laura Kinney is the result of a top secret program that makes an effort to create another Wolverine. But when they can't find a subject to survive the process of bonding the adamantium to their bones, they decide to just clone Logan himself. But during this process, the Y chromosome is damaged and they instead create a female clone that they call X-23. She only has the 2 claws on either hand, but that typically isn't a hindrance for her since she does get empowered by the Enigma Force a number of times. And if you're not already aware, the Enigma Force is what gives Captain Universe his power. So Laura is really not to be messed with. She's also just a great fighter on her own, and she eventually escapes the lab and becomes a very successful hero by her own right. At number 7 is Lord of Vampires Wolverine. In What If number 24, Wolverine is bitten by Lord Dracula, which turns him into a vampire. And after some biting and killing as a blood-sucking ghoul, Wolverine decides he has to kill Lord Dracula and become the Lord of the Vampires himself. Then Wolverine goes and kills most of the X-Men, turning a few of them into vampires as well, and then controlling them and others with hypnosis. With his vampire army, he goes forth to take on all of New York City and then eventually the world. It's a fun, quick issue that explores an interesting question in a what-if context, but if you really take the character seriously and consider his powers, Lord of Vampires Wolverine is a very powerful variant. Wolverine is already an extremely powerful superhero, but with the ability to turn others into mindless vampires and then control them with mind powers, he becomes nearly unstoppable. At number 6, we have Zombie Wolverine. This variant is, on its own, maybe not the most powerful out of them all, considering he's made up of decaying flesh. But due to circumstance, he actually ends up being a real issue for his friends and enemies alike. During a fight against the Silver Surfer, this version of Wolverine loses his right arm and actually has it replaced by a cybernetic one. Not only that, but Zombie Wolverine also gains cosmic powers after killing and then devouring the corpse of the Silver Surfer. So aside from an insatiable hunger as a driving force for this variant, he's also got the whole cosmic power thing on his side, as well as a nifty cybernetic arm. Beware of Zombie Wolverine, he means business.
Number 5, Earth X Black Panther. On Earth X, Black Panther is the one who guards the Cosmic Cube, being noble and powerful enough to be entrusted with such a valuable item of power. Captain America gave him the Cosmic Cube to guard, believing that T'Challa would protect it, even from Captain America himself, if he had to. On Earth 9997, T'Challa would also end up married to Storm, aka Aurora Monroe. And when the Terrigen Mists caused the world to mutate, he would become more panther-like in appearance. Likewise, the animals in Wakanda would also mutate, and they would actually become more humanoid in appearance. T'Challa from then on referred to them as the Anti-Men, and also believed them to be kind of a manifestation or a symbol of Wakandan gods as well. Black Panther on Earth X, thanks to his further mutation, is actually believed to be even more powerful possibly than his main continuity counterpart. Number 4, MCU Black Panther. In the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Black Panther was played by Chadwick Boseman up until his untimely death in 2020. While the future of the character remains uncertain in the MCU, what we do know is that with Boseman in the role, T'Challa as Black Panther in the MCU proved to be one of the greatest heroes out there. We saw both his capacity to be an inspirational hero who also listened to those around him, with Nakia helping him to see the benefits of revealing Wakanda's true wealth and power to the world so they could actually help others the world over with their knowledge and their technology. Black Panther also proved himself as a hero, defeating M'Baku when challenged for the throne, and later Killmonger his cousin, with T'Challa trying his hardest to convince Eric to surrender, not wanting to have to hurt a member of his own family, who T'Challa even felt in the end had pretty much been abandoned by his people. He really actually didn't want to fight Eric. He was like, I mean, I guess if we gotta do this, guess we gotta fight. Aside from that, along with the Avengers, Black Panther fought against Thanos twice, and in the end won, saving the Earth from his tyrannical tirades. Number 3. Iron Hammer. Iron Hammer is an amalgamation of Iron Man and Thor from the Pocket Dimension universe known as Warp World. Warp World was created when Gamora gained the power of the Infinity Stones and used them to fold the universe in half, merging souls together in doing so to create amalgamated heroes and villains, then feeding those souls to the Soul Gem. Iron Hammer is Stark Odinson, the son of Howard Odin, who is part businessman, part Asgardian god. Iron Hammer wields a hammer and also wears a spiffy set of armor, having the powers of both the 616 versions of both of these heroes.
Number 2. Iron Lantern. Ah, yes, the Amalgam Universe, combining the world's two biggest comic book companies, DC and Marvel, pitting popular characters from both sides against each other and even fusing some characters together. One incredibly cool amalgamation would be between Iron Man and Green Lantern. Harold Stark, HAL for short, was the founder of Stark Aircraft, and while test flying a prototype aircraft, it suddenly took off on its own to a crashed alien spaceship, and it too crashed. The crash left shards of metal in Stark's chest, which, after meeting the dying alien Roman-Sur, Stark survived using an alien battery, suspiciously in the shape of a lantern, to build a suit of armor. This armor not only kept him alive though, it gave him the ability to create green solid energy constructs, fire plasma bolts, fly at speeds beyond the speed of light, time travel, it granted him almost unlimited telepathic powers, translation of virtually any language, force field generation, and the ever-classic superhuman strength and durability. Yeah, he'll put his hand on your chest.
Number 1. Infamous Iron Man. Who is Infamous Iron Man? Well, he's Dr. Doom as Iron Man. I know this might seem like a controversial pick for our top spot, but walk with me, or I guess just stand with me, because I can't really walk anywhere. Dr. Doom, despite being a villain, is one of the most powerful characters in the Marvel Universe. He's not only a genius, but is the ruler of a nation known as Latveria, wielding all the power of his country, his people, and the nation's resources, as well as being an extremely gifted magic user. In fact, there are even futures where Doom becomes Sorcerer Supreme, and if it weren't for Clea showing up in the 616 universe, he would have become Sorcerer Supreme after Doctor Strange died. Also, a lot of what stops Dr. Doom from winning the day is his role as a heel for the heroes, a villain. So when he decided to take up the mantle of Iron Man in Tony's absence, he became pretty much unstoppable, because now there's no reason for him to technically have to lose battles. He's not a bad guy. Well, he's kind of a bad guy, but he's a good bad guy. Villains even banded together in fear of what action Doom might take against them as Iron Man. And when they did band together, he still showed up and then beat them all. So yeah. Number 10. Azuri. King Azuri is T'Challa's grandfather. He is the father of T'Chaka, who ruled Wakanda during World War II. Before T'Chaka was Black Panther, Azuri was. He was rumored to be a brutal man who basically beheaded anyone who trespassed into Wakanda and possibly hunted outsiders for sport, displaying their heads on spikes. In reality, although he was pretty harsh and had no qualms with killing and beheading those who refused to leave at his behest, he was not completely unreasonable and would only seemingly attack those who actually refused to leave Wakanda. So he wouldn't just straight up kill people usually, he'd just be like, hey, could you like get out? If they didn't get out, he's like, well, okay, guess I'm gonna behead you, I guess. When Captain America came to Wakanda, Azuri asked him to leave, and when he refused, they fought. However, it was through this meeting that Azuri would gain some tolerance and respect for outsiders in his land, believing that Captain America could actually be a really good symbol for the US, like Black Panther was for Wakanda. Azuri has powers similar to the Black Panthers who had come before and after him, but was well known for his ruthless nature, having no problems with killing his opponents when he needed to. Number 9. Ultimate Black Panther. In this reality, T'Challa was the younger brother of M'Baku, who was meant to become Black Panther and King instead. Jealous and overconfident, T'Challa decided to take part in the Panther ritual ahead of his time, before M'Baku did. The dangerous trial involved hunting and defeating a Black Panther, and as a result of attempting it, T'Challa was maimed with his throat actually ripped out. The king was worried about losing his son and was forced to reach out to the US for help. They were able to save T'Challa, but Nick Fury also forcibly recruited him into S.H.I.E.L.D., refusing to release him back to Wakanda and his father. And although this sounds really harsh, apparently Fury did believe that it was because, you know, T'Chaka maybe was behind the fact that his son got so injured. Initially, T'Challa was not super gifted when it came to combat, but after training with Captain America, he proved to actually be a really great fighter. This version of T'Challa does not speak, as his vocal cords were severely damaged in the Panther attack, or completely gone. Actually, I think they're completely gone. I feel like if your throat's ripped out, vocal cords probably don't exist. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list and you want more lists like it, be sure to show your love for Black Panther in the comments below. Number 8. Killmonger. For a short while in the comics, Killmonger took up the mantle of Black Panther. He did so after defeating T'Challa in ritual combat. Pretty impressive considering that T'Challa would still have been Black Panther at this point, and unlike the film version of this fight, didn't actually have to depower himself in order to fight Killmonger in issue 20 of the 1998 Black Panther series, considered volume 3 overall. Although they do have to fight for a long while, even needing to both take breaks, which seems to have a toll on Black Panther's normally heightened senses, and is probably why he lost this fight. Killmonger may have not had the heart-shaped herb, which he did not ingest before adopting the mantle, but he is known for being a brilliant mind in the comics, super strong, and basically a genius inventor. He made plays to try and maintain his power, even trying to get in with the Avengers as T'Challa had previously done, but eventually did himself in by trying to ingest the heart-shaped herb. Due to the fact that in the comics N'Jadaka is not related to T'Challa by blood, the herb poisoned him as he didn't have royal blood in his veins, and he actually ended up in a coma as a result. So it didn't work out well in the end, but he was still able to be a Black Panther, which I think is pretty nuts. Number 7. Superior Iron Man. Superior Iron Man is actually a version of Tony from the main continuity, but he's so devious and fantastic that I had to include him. What can I say? I'm obviously a sucker for an evil villain version of Tony Stark, as this is the second one that I've mentioned on this list. I just feel like Tony has so much potential as an amazing villain, and honestly I would rather see him as a villain than a hero. I know that might be a hot take, but there it is. And you might even say he's not just an amazing villain, he's a superior villain. Ho! Superior Iron Man came about as a result of Iron Man avoiding the re-reversal of alignments back to normal near the end of Axis. You see, Scarlet Witch had cast a spell which accidentally inverted the alignment of a good number of Marvel's premium heroes and villains. Well, she meant to invert them, but not all of them. She meant to invert one of them, and then everyone else got affected too. Oops. Among them was Tony. When this was reversed, so Tony would go back from being evil to good once more, the super smart Iron Man found a way to shield himself, resisting the reversal back to being a hero. Instead, he remained a villain who simply passed himself off as a hero. This version of Tony isn't just smart, he's diabolical, and his lack of ethics means he's willing to do things that his regular, more heroic 616 self wouldn't.
Number 6. Ultimate Universe. Having your mind and body altered by an Infinity Gem sounds like it could go pretty much anywhere, but fittingly for Tony Stark, it led to him being able to physically and mentally interact with pretty much any computer ever. That's a pretty good ability for someone who flies around in a technological suit of armor. The Antonio Stark of Earth 1610, or the Ultimate Universe, has basically become part man, part machine, being able to project his mind into computers and androids, allowing him to be nigh unkillable. Proven when the Master, Reed Richards, seemingly brought his demise, but he became a non-physical entity which could manifest itself via computer systems. When actually physically inhabiting an Iron Man armor, he gains the usual abilities, plus force fields and cloaking. He's also got nanites in his bloodstream that he uses to control his suits, as well as open locks, defuse boom booms, and interact with all forms of tech. This Ultimate Universe Iron Man, like quite a few of the other Ultimate Universe characters, is pretty ultimate. Number 5. Venom Hulk. Now, this has happened in the 616 continuity. In Absolute Carnage, Venom abandons Eddie Brock to bond with a more powerful character to take on the null-boosted Carnage, the Hulk. It looks amazing, with Venom barely even being able to fully cover the Hulk's massive body. But while you may think this combo would be a game changer for the heroes, it is ultimately really disappointing, as Bruce is dealing with his Devil Hulk persona and Carnage targets this. Hulk reverts back to Banner and then gets his spine ripped out, way too fast. Luckily, we get a slightly less awesome looking version of Venom Hulk. In What If number 4 on Earth 1089, we see a Venom symbiote fully bond with Spider-Man in their first encounter. He feeds off him until he encounters the Hulk. Now, if I was a symbiote and I had the choice between Peter Parker and the Incredible Hulk, I'd probably ditch Peter Parker just like Venom did here. He easily takes over the simpler mind of the Hulk. Venom feeds off the gamma radiation of the Hulk, eventually moving on to Thor, but the potential of this kind of amalgamation is just, I don't know. I think I gotta change my underwear now. Yeah. Number 4. Infernal Hulk. I think superheroes need to stop banishing Hulks. It doesn't do anything but make them more mad, and in this case, you turn them into a demon. In the universe of Earth 11638, Bruce Banner has become the Sorcerer Supreme after being Doctor Strange's apprentice. And to sidetrack for a moment, could you imagine Bruce Banner running around like Mickey Mouse in The Sorcerer's Apprentice? You can't tell me that wouldn't be entertaining. Anyways, using the magic he learned, he managed to separate the Hulk persona from himself and send it to hell. For a Supreme Sorcerer, you think he would have a bit more forethought. Sending the Hulk to hell managed to get him corrupted by demons, turning him into the Infernal Hulk, and giving him some pretty powerful demonic abilities. Now, after some time, Earth 11638 is visited by the Earth 616 Bruce Banner alongside Deadpool and Spider-Man. The Infernal Hulk clawed his way back into the mortal plane by trading places with the Hulk persona of Earth 616 Bruce Banner. Spider-Man, Deadpool, and Sorcerer Bruce Banner come up with a plan by reversing the spell that banished the Hulk persona and sacrificing Magic Bruce so the Infernal Hulk had nowhere to go, effectively ending the whole thing, and it was all thumbs up after that. I don't know. Number 3. Maestro. I feel like we have talked about him way too many times to count, but for those of you who don't know, Maestro is the dystopian future version of Hulk, the variant of Hulk that haunts his own dreams. He rules over the creatively named city of Dystopia as an incredibly evil and immoral dictator. Years and years of radiation due to the nuclear conflict that spawned this dystopian future had made Maestro sick and villainous, as well as twice as strong as the base level Hulk, but with all the intelligence of Banner to boot. This bearded green behemoth has been a fan favorite character since his introduction in the Future Imperfect storyline, and his backstory, fighting the Human Torch, Doctor Doom, Namor the Submariner, and Abomination, is pretty intense and a fun read. Not to mention his debut where he fights the Incredible Hulk and defeats him like it's absolutely nothing to him. Such a great character. I think he needs to show up in the MCU, like sooner or later, please. Just once. Just one time. Just one time. Number 2. Immortal Hulk. Who knew that all those times Bruce Banner should have lost his life and was saved by the Hulk, he actually did, and was revived. Apparently, all these revivals actually made Hulk more and more powerful, resulting in the Immortal Hulk, which is one of the most powerful versions of the Hulk we have ever seen. He's articulate. He seems to be more intelligent than Banner, and his strength is nearly unrivaled. He can literally smell when someone is lying, which is just kind of insane by itself. But I think the strangest thing is that he will only come out at night, kind of like how the original Hulk did. But now, the Hulk won't even come out to actually save Banner's life anymore. Like when Bruce caught a bullet to the head and was actually lifeless on the ground until nighttime came and the Immortal Hulk came out. The Immortal Hulk storyline is also incredible, and you should absolutely check it out. But just to warn you, while the art is really good, it can be really graphic and kind of freaky at times, so you've been warned. Number 1. Breaker of Worlds. I said the Immortal Hulk was the most powerful Hulk we have been shown, but there is an alternate one shown in the same Immortal Hulk storyline that kind of tops everything else, like ever. In Immortal Hulk, we meet the One Below All, the representative of all destruction and death in the Marvel Universe, and the antithesis to the One Above All, who is basically God. He is an incredibly powerful being who is thankfully trapped in the below place, and exists through gamma mutated characters like the Hulk and Abomination and all those guys. But not on Earth TRN 781. In this reality, the One Below All managed to destroy the soul of Bruce Banner and take his place inside the Hulk's body, possessing the Hulk. This possessed Hulk goes on a mission of destruction, removing crazy powerful characters like Franklin Richards and Galactus, and consuming them to gain their power, becoming more and more powerful, until he found the sentience of the 8th cosmos, and did the exact same thing to him too. Fast forward about 10 billion years, and the Breaker of Worlds had destroyed all life and all planets in the multiverse. But now we move on to the 9th cosmos, I think. I think that's how that works. I really don't know. All I know, or even understand, is that this version of the Hulk is massive, bigger than the biggest planets, which he destroys with his giant emerald fists. He is empty and hollow and utterly terrifying. A godlike being who transcends understanding. He's sweet. You should check him out. Number 10. Ultimate Hulk. Just like every villain who is warned not to experiment on himself, the Ultimate Universe Bruce Banner, who thought he perfected the Super Soldier Serum, used it on himself, which had a pretty unfortunate effect. Instead of becoming big and strong like Captain America, he became big and strong like Bull, or like Hulk, I guess, and tore apart the lab he was working in. So already this is a different kind of Hulk. No gamma explosion caused this monstrosity. When he mixed Captain America's serum with his Hulk serum and injected himself though, he became a gray monstrous Hulk and became a bit more villainous. Not necessarily on purpose, but I mean, he ate people, said some pretty not okay things, and rampaged around New York giving the newly formed Ultimates a threat to fight. He did eventually become a bit more of an on-again, off-again hero, even though he allied himself with the Maker at one point. But I mean, at least he wasn't actually as powerful as the original 616 Hulk, which makes him a bit better to deal with. Number 9. Aborigine Hulk. Ever heard of the House of M? When Wanda Maximoff changed reality to make the mutant Magneto the ruler of the world with his family? Well, in this world, when Bruce Banner transformed into the Hulk after the Gamma explosion, it is believed by Mr. Ross that he is a spy of Magneto, and he is hunted down like normal. But not like normal, he travels all the way to Australia, and he settles in with a group of Aboriginals where he becomes a part of their tribe, and finds an inner peace with Banner and the other guy. But of course, the conflict between the mutants and the last remaining resisting humans finds its way to the outback and onto the territory of his Aborigine tribe. With a kind of control over the Hulk persona, Hulk and Banner help the humans halt their persecution by their mutant overlords, eventually helping AIM to rule Australia. There's this really cool moment where Hulk is like using a whale to cover a submarine. It looks amazing, I promise. Just check it out. Number 8. Hulk: The End. After what seems to be a nuclear apocalypse has wiped out every other form of human life on the planet Earth, of course, it is the Hulk who is the only one remaining. Kind of fitting, as he has always wanted to be left alone, and now he is alone. Except not fully. Now that every human has left, Hulk is left with one person who won't leave him be, Dr. Bruce Banner. Banner is always there, just kind of on the subconscious background. This version of the Hulk contends against massive mutated cockroaches who eat him, but he always heals and remains alive. It's rather strange how this happens, but at some point in time, Bruce Banner actually passes on inside of the transformed Hulk from a heart attack, and finally lives the Incredible Hulk utterly and totally alone in the world. It's honestly a really depressing story, and it ends just as depressingly, but it is nonetheless an amazing story, and I think if you've never checked it out, you probably should. Number 7. Hulk 2099. Spider-Man 2099 is an incredible character and story. The world that Marvel set up in 2099 is just as awesome and brilliant, which led to a bunch of heroes getting 2099 counterparts. Obviously, the Hulk had to be one of them. In 2099, you'll find a cult called the Knights of Banner, who are trying their darndest to create a Hulk. Oh, and to get a movie deal, but mainly to get a Hulk. Or a Hulk-like thing. A man named John Eisenhart joins up with the cult, and after an upset cult member triggers a gamma explosion, Eisenhart is transformed into a new version of the Hulk. Now this alternate Hulk is just a smidge different from our regular Hulk. Like, I don't know, his super strong prehensile tongue. That's a big one. His crazy long hair could be considered another. He had sharp teeth and very strong claws, and he also isn't a savage Hulk, so his strength is not limitless. But yeah, I'd still run from this monstrosity. Number 6. The Lizard Hulk. In Spider Island, New York has been captured and taken over by an evil Spider Queen, who not only rules the citizens, but has also turned most of them into mindless spider people. She has even turned a large number of heroes into scary looking spider mutates. Hulk is one of those heroes. Now, while this version of Hulk could honestly make this list, there is a point in the story where Flash Thompson, otherwise known as Agent Venom, who leads a resistance against the Spider Queen and is trying to cure the spider virus, infects Hulk with the blood of Dr. Kurt Connor, or as he is otherwise known, the Lizard. This actually works, and instead of being an arachnid type Hulk, the strongest Avenger becomes a lizard type Hulk. I don't know. He fights alongside a werewolf Steve Rogers, a vampire Carol Danvers, and a Green Goblin Tony Stark. It's pretty cool. And he himself is pretty impressive. I mean, just look at the power set he now possesses. All his gamma mutated physiological abilities, his limitless strength, and all that loveliness, plus the abilities of the Lizard from 616. Including that sweet tail.
Number 5. Darkhold Iron Man. As we glimpse into the Darkhold, we get to see into the much darker reality of Earth 21129 when it comes to Tony Stark's tale. Here in Darkhold Iron Man, issue number 1, we meet Tony Stark, who becomes obsessed with the armor that he's building, despite the fact that once in said pieces of armor, they cannot be removed, as they bond to Tony in such a way that removing the armor also removes his skin. In essence, we learn that the armor is kinda like feeding on Tony Stark's organic makeup, fully bonding with him. When he wears the helmet, this becomes evident when we learn that skin and bone are melting away, as the suit has, well, no need of them, because they're like, hey, we're armor, so you don't need that. This Tony Stark is eerily powerful as he threatens to take over the world with his technology, offering everyone the infinite and permanent safety of his suits, at the cost of their own organic lives and bodies.
Number 4. Iron Goblin. Earth 19919, or the Spider Island, basically saw the city of New York taken over by the Spider Queen, who infected millions of people, including heroes, turning them into monstrous spider people. Agent Venom of the Resistance began using other monster transforming techniques. This includes injecting the Hulk with the Lizard Serum, using the Godstone to turn Captain America into a werewolf, and Captain Marvel was turned into a living vampire. For Iron Man, he was sprayed with the Goblin formula used by Norman Osborn to save him. This gave Tony Stark super strength, speed, stamina, durability, agility, reflexes, and a regenerative healing factor. You know, the superhero starter pack of abilities, plus all the technology of the Iron Man suit. Unfortunately, the serum also has the side effect of making people maniacal, paranoid, irrational, and illogical. Not wanting to go fully insane and to make up for his crimes as an arms dealer, the Goblin Iron Man wielded the Ebony Blade, one of the most powerful weapons in the Marvel Universe, and sacrificed himself to save the Resistance.
Number 3. Ghost Panther. Ghost Panther is a version of the hero who also boasted of the powers of Ghost Rider. He hails from the Infinity Warp reality, which was created when Gamora folded the universe in half using the Infinity Stones. This caused souls in that reality to merge together, creating amalgamated heroes and villains, which also included Ghost Panther. Ghost Panther is T'Challa, who also at one point used the stage name of Johnny Blaze as a stunt motorcycle rider. He has the combined powers of Ghost Rider and Black Panther. Instead of riding a flaming motorcycle though, while in his ghostly form, he rides a flaming giant Black Panther, which is pretty cool. Number 2. 1 million BC. This Black Panther is actually believed to be the first to have ever existed. He belonged to the Panther tribe and was the one to discover the valuable vibranium meteor, which would later grant the nation of Wakanda their strength via technology. This Black Panther belonged to what is believed to be the first ever Avengers team, the Stone Age Avengers, or the 1 million BC Avengers as they are sometimes known. Other than Odin, this Black Panther was the first person to wield Mjolnir, being declared worthy by the hammer and therefore able to do so, which is also pretty crazy. Number 1. Star-Lord. In the Disney Plus animated series What If, we got our own alternate version of Black Panther featured as a main character, also featuring Chadwick Boseman's final MCU performance in the episode where he voiced T'Challa for the last time. Here T'Challa has a different fate. Instead of remaining in Wakanda and eventually becoming king and Black Panther, he is abducted by the Ravagers, with Yondu believing he is the son of Ego that he was sent to Terra, aka Earth, to retrieve. It turns out that Yondu was kinda wrong about that, but aside from that, Yondu also becomes quite attached to this kid. T'Challa joins the Ravagers, excited to explore the cosmos with them, and ends up becoming Star-Lord, a character who is insanely powerful and who basically defeated Thanos with like a simple conversation, convincing him that what he was doing was pretty much wrong. So no snap in this universe. Instead, Thanos ends up actually as Star-Lord's ally, crewmate, and friend, which is also pretty cool.
Number 10. Dark Multiverse Superman. Now, I don't know if this is laziness, but the Dark Universe version of Superman doesn't really get much justification as to why his mind snapped and he killed millions of people, his own family, and most of the other superheroes. The Batman of this universe, after seeing this Superman kill his own wife, and after he cuts off Batman's arm, decides that this guy just ain't it. And he transformed himself into a doomsday Batman hybrid called the Devastator, and smashed down this Superman, poisoned him, and impaled him on spikes. A quick evil Superman story, but it was in service of an amazing Batman story. Number 9. Lex Luthor Superman. Okay, this evil Superman isn't technically Superman, but when Superman and Doomsday are both killed by each other, Earth Prime's Lex Luthor returns to Earth after getting bored of being the new Darkseid on Apokolips, and learns of Superman's demise. Lex Luthor, with the help of a superpowered armor, steps in and makes himself the new Superman. I mean, not really Lex, but sure, we'll just give this one to you. Now, he had some good intentions, but it's Lex Luthor. he wasn't exactly the best person for the job. After having multiple falling outs with the new real Superman, pre-Flashpoint Clark Kent, he gave up the title of Superman and started acting as an independent hero, and sometimes a villain. Number 8. Parallax Superman. In this story, Parallax, the physical embodiment of fear, took over the body of Kal-El, making him submit to Laxi by torturing children, and uses this Kryptonian's powers to confront Sinestro, who traps the cocky super entity and teleports him to the caves of Quard, where Sinestro tries to take Parallax out of Superman's body for his own evil plans. But surprise! Parallax has already escaped Superman's body, and a battle ensues between Sinestro and Parallax, leading to the surface of Quard. Superman escapes from the caves and in a last-ditch attempt to defeat the entity, steals Sinestro's power ring and coerces Parallax to swallow his super butt whole. Superman is a clever guy though. He traps Parallax inside the power ring and the day is saved. Gosh, a lot of plot twists there. Number 7. Hank Henshaw. Hanky Boy here was already a villain of Superman's from past stories, but when Superman was killed by Doomsday, Hank, unable to directly get revenge against Superman himself, decided to attack his reputation instead. Come on, man. He's already dead. Not cool, dude. Not cool. After creating a Kryptonian cyborg body using the birthing matrix, he took on the guise of Supes and went about destroying Superman's memorial plaque. Then he saved the president to get clout so the president would recognize him as the real Superman. Eventually, he and Mongol destroyed Coast City, and the real reborn Superman, with the help of others, defeated and discredited him. At least he looked really cool. Number 6. Overman. Now this version of our favorite red and blue man didn't end up in Kansas when he was ejected from Krypton. No. This Kal-El found himself in Sudetenland, Germany in 1938 and was acquired by a certain mustached fascist. With Kal and Kryptonian tech, the Reich were obviously able to win World War II and rule over the entire planet. Later, Overman would become disgusted with the stashed man when the Holocaust had been finalized, although he still served the state. It's kind of a weird set of morals there, dude. Eventually, he was cloned and received a love in the form of Overgirl, but after her death, he was completely heartbroken, and he supplied information to the freedom fighters who long opposed the fascists, which eventually led to the death of the new Reichman, the Justice League, and the city of Metropolis. With the grief of all these losses holding him down, he was overthrown by his friend. Damn. Kinda hard to feel bad for him though. Number 5. The Linear Verse. The Linear Verse is an alternate reality where the people age so slowly that it's almost safe to say they don't age at all. Batman began his career in 1939, with his youth lasting for decades instead of the normal aging of a human. In a way, this kind of represents how comic book characters seemingly never age and grow old, except in certain stories. By the late 20th century, the world had most of its superheroes. After this point though, things get a little whack. See, Earth became a dystopia ruled by the wealthy, which, I don't know, it seems a bit too real for me. And a great disaster was foreseen that actually came to pass. And the world became very similar to the one in the Earth AD story. Anthropomorphized animals had become the rulers of the planet, with humans devolving, save for Kamandi and a few others. Then, in the 25th century, humanity seemingly built a high-tech society, which saw the rise of Michael Carter, who is Booster Gold. In the 31st century, Earth became the base of the Legion of Superheroes, who were an interplanetary superhero team. This world is just a wild ride. Oh, and it first appeared in Generations Forged #1 in April of 2021. Number 4. The Metalverse. Okay, I know we're going to talk about the Dark Multiverse, but we haven't talked about, and we need to talk about, the Metalverse. So basically, after Perpetua defeated the Justice League, she gave Prime Earth to the Batman Who Laughs. He and his Dark Knights defeated all the heroes and then reshaped the Earth into his vision. Look at this super cool map! He turned Gotham City into a whole continent super city that is guarded by Joker dragons. He made his home Castle Bat, which is another version of Batman who became a sentient Gotham. There is a hell on Earth called the Hellscape, ruled by Wonder Woman. Arkham Wasteland, ruled over by Harley Quinn. A Superman-powered New Apokolips prison where all the remaining heroes are held. Megapocalypse with a Rainbow Valley where all the lantern rings lay because no one is worthy that exists anymore. This version of Earth Prime isn't exactly an alternate universe, but it definitely sounds like it should be. Hey nerds, just wanted to say thanks for watching. It means a lot to us. If y'all don't mind smacking that like button, it would help us out. And it helps YouTube know we don't suck. Okay, on to the top 3. Number 3. Green Lantern Legacy. Green Lantern Legacy is a one-shot comic from 2020, in which we are given an alternate Earth where the Green Lanterns of Earth were John Stewart, who we already know, and a Vietnamese woman named Kim Tran. Now, Kim Tran, like most of the Green Lanterns, was an awesome hero who never let evil escape her sight, in brightest day or blackest night. She was a pillar for her community too, helping people from all walks of life. And she even helped other Vietnamese immigrants feel at home in this new city. The comic, though, really follows Tai Pham, who is Kim Tran's grandson, as he takes up the mantle of Green Lantern from his grandmother, becoming one of the youngest Green Lanterns at 12 years old. We see him struggle with racism, bullies, his own fears, and against the Yellow Lantern. It's a great story, and it gives some well-needed Vietnamese representation to the DC landscape. Give it a read! Number 2, DCeased. You know how Marvel has the Marvel Zombie storyline? Well, this is basically DC Zombies. That's a bit of an unfair comparison though. The two stories are very different, with the DC version ultimately being slightly more grounded and emotional. In this reality, Cyborg has been captured by Darkseid on Apokolips, and it's revealed that the anti-life equation lives inside him. When Darkseid tries to take the equation, it is instead corrupted, causing Darkseid to explode Apokolips. But not before Cyborg was sent to Earth. Once he arrives, he inadvertently infects the entire world with the anti-life equation, which has taken the form of a techno-organic virus. This turns millions of people and a lot of metahumans into zombies. The story follows the survivors as they try to quell the threat, and eventually leave the Earth to settle a new home. I kinda prefer this to the Marvel Zombie story. I don't know, it's a survival story instead of a funny zombie story. I like it. Sue me. Please don't sue me. Number 1, Dark Multiverse. First appearing in Dark Knight's Metal #1 in 2017, the Dark Multiverse is basically the shadow version of the regular DC universe that resides underneath the primary one. So there are negative versions of the 52 Earths of the regular multiverse, but it was also originally the World Forge, meaning it has so many more worlds. For example, there are worlds born from sentient life's hopes and fears. Honestly, each world here could take up a point on this list, but it feels like that's cheating a little. The World Forger was the master of this domain and created the Great Dragon, Barbatos, to destroy unstable realities that couldn't join the Orrery of Worlds. Barbatos, manipulated by Perpetua, rebelled and defeated the World Forger, creating the Dark Multiverse. A lot more happens after that, but I can't cover that in a 1-minute segment, so Dark Knight's Metal is an amazing story and it deserves your reading.
In at 10, Hyena. Hyena, first introduced in Legends of the Darkclaw #1 from 1996, is a combination of DC's The Joker and Marvel's Sabretooth. He is the archenemy of Darkclaw, a combination of DC's Batman and Marvel's Wolverine. His real name is Creed Harley Quinn. The Canadian government initiated the Weapon X project. Logan and Quinn of the RCAF were both accepted as candidates for the project, along with 4 other volunteers. Logan's latent metamutant healing factor kicks in, which allows him to survive the adamantium crafting process, and Creed survives as well, but becomes a remorseless killing machine, exactly what the project was hoping for. Creed's sanity does not fare as well, and he eventually goes rogue, because of course he's going to. And Indestructible, known as adamantium, was also bonded to Creed's skeleton as well as Logan's, and he was given claws made of the same substance. Unlike Darkclaw, however, Creed was physically deformed as a result of the experiment and went insane. Project X also triggered metamutant abilities in Creed, who became known as Hyena. Hyena, also known as the Cackling Canine, will not stop his maniacal grinning until his arch-nemesis Darkclaw is destroyed. He also has a gang called the Pack, which is actually kinda cute, but still terrifying. And at 9, Martha Wayne. When Barry Allen altered the timeline so that his mother lived, a lot changed, along with Martha Wayne. She had initially been the mother to Bruce Wayne, who would have become Batman when she was killed in the alleyway by Joe Chill, but Barry's mom surviving somehow resulted in her and her husband, Thomas Wayne, surviving Joe Chill's fateful ambush, but their son dying as a result. Butterfly effect, I guess. This ultimately broke her, driving her completely insane from grief and having her adopt the identity of the Joker, as well as committing various crimes in Gotham, also resulting in Thomas becoming a vigilante known as Batman in an attempt to stop her. By the time of the Flashpoint Saga, she had kidnapped the twin sons of Harvey Dent without leaving a ransom note, and then, at her hideout in Wayne Manor, manipulated Commissioner Gordon into shooting the daughter by dressing her up in a Joker outfit, and then murdered the Commissioner. Eventually, Batman arrives arrived and she had proceeded to bludgeon her former husband with a hammer, an action that Batman willingly endured for a chance at getting a glimpse of the remaining psyche of his former wife. Ultimately, he managed to temporarily get through to her and revealed that they may have a chance of actually undoing the events that happened, although it may result in her deaths. She accepted though, because she wanted her son to live, but apparently not become Batman. And at 8, Suicide Squad. The Joker is an infamously extreme and formidable psychopathic crime lord in Gotham City in this movie, being at the very top of the city's criminal underworld, greatly feared by all those other crime bosses and criminals. Though he is devoid of empathy or pity for anybody taking part in his wicked schemes, either by intimidation or fraud, the Joker used to adore his on-again off-again girlfriend and partner in crime Harley Quinn, doing his utmost to rescue her from Task Force X and the clutches of Amanda Waller, with eventual success. I mean, like, he was in the movie for like 5 minutes total, but like, it's better than nothing, right? For unknown reasons though, he later broke up with Harley, leaving her on her own and the target of many of his enemies. This version from the DCEU was certainly a darker and more brutal Joker than what we've been seeing in the comics now, not relying on Batman and being more willing to kill like he was in the golden age of comics, much along the lines of the 3 Joker revelation from the Mobius chair, since this version also killed Robin in the DCEU prior to the events of the movie. However, some also believe that the Joker is a mentally unstable version of Robin, which could be revealed to be true, but I don't know if they're actually going to reveal it and just let it be a theory. And yes, I was doing this to show the mask multiple times. And at 7, Emperor Joker. Emperor Joker was the form the Joker took after tricking Mr. Mxyzptlk into donating 99.99% of his powers to the Joker. He gave him 99.99% of his powers accidentally. As a direct result, he became near omnipotent and created a hellish world in his own image. At some point, the imp from the 5th dimension, Mr. Mxyzptlk, attempted to see what a member of the regular realm would do with his power and selected the Joker. He intended on only donating 1% of his power to the Joker, but the Mad Clown tricked him into revealing his true name and thus ended up gaining 99.99% of the powers, and proceeded to transform existence within 69 seconds. Nice. Into a realm made in his own image, which was a twisted caricature, and with everyone stuck in a loop. Emperor Joker continually tortured and killed Batman every single day, only to bring him back to life and do it all over again. As could be expected, Emperor Joker took pride in these particular killings due to the unique relationship the two characters continued to share. Although this relationship is also the Joker's undoing, since he was still defined by being the Batman's antagonist, and he was beaten by a dog of all things. Okay, well, it was Superman as a dog, but still. Joker with near absolute power? No thanks. And at 6, Batman Two-Faces. Batman Two-Faces is the DC equivalent to the Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde story, where ironically, Harvey Dent, also known as Two-Face, isn't the one with the Hyde affliction, but rather Batman himself is. It's the year 1886. Bruce Wayne is organizing a gala to exhibit the Twilight Orchid, a rare flower with unique characteristics. During the day, the flower is exquisitely colored and perfumed and attracts a large amount of insects. At night, however, it turns into a weed, attracting only pests. I know a few people like that. Miss Pamela Isley, Bruce Wayne, Commissioner Gordon, and many of Gotham's finest attend the gala where Two-Face storms in and steals the flower. Bruce reveals that he had hoped to actually create a potion derived from the flower, which was retrieved from Miss Isley's dead hands. A potion which would cure Two-Face from his dual personality. Finalizing the potion, Bruce tests it on himself. He suddenly develops superhuman strength, agility, and a new sense of courage and purpose. He puts together a costume and sets off to battle crime on Two-Face's terms. However, this potion didn't only give him powers, it gave him another personality. The personality of the Joker. Yeah, that's right. In Batman Two-Faces, Bruce Wayne is the Joker, which is pretty frightening for sure.
Number 5. Injustice Superman. The Superman of the Injustice universe has pretty much the same history as the baseline Superman, but when the Joker kidnaps the pregnant Lois Lane, it lures Superman into a trap of fear gas. In his poisoned state, Superman hallucinates his true love as the villain Doomsday and instantly attacks, flying Lois and his unborn child into space, killing them, and inadvertently causing a nuclear bomb to destroy his city, Metropolis. After suddenly losing his city, wife, and baby, Superman goes into an honestly understandable rage, bursting into the interrogation room where Batman is learning the true intentions of the Joker and plunges his super fist right through the guy's chest. Following these events, Superman takes control of the Earth and rules it as a tyrant. Fortunately, Batman forms an insurgency to try and beat this corrupted Superman, eventually enlisting the aid of another Earth's Justice League. and I guess technically whoever plays the tied-in video game, to defeat him and save the day. Number 4. Brutale. Brutale is a cloned version of Superman, but unlike a certain bizarre version of Superman, who we will talk about later, don't worry, this duplication was done by none other than Darkseid himself. He raised the resulting clone into a soldier, nay, a weapon, and unleashed him on the superheroes of Earth 2, along with Steppenwolf and the other Hunger Dogs, but they don't really matter. When Steppenwolf tried to subvert his master Darkseid and take Earth as his own, brutally murders him with his heat vision, establishing his devotion to his Lord Darkseid. Let me make my intentions clear. Hail Darkseid! Which is just a sweet line after you murdered a general of Darkseid. The Earth became lost to Darkseid's minions, and eventually, after a lot of other stuff, Kal-Zod, Earth 2's Superman, faced Brutale in combat, and after a furious battle, showed that Brutale was just an imitation, and a cheap one at that, as his body began to deteriorate, and the day was saved. Again. Hey guys, just wanted to say a quick thanks for watching. We hope you're enjoying the video. If you are, why not head on over to that pretty little subscribe button and give us a follow and a like. You guys are the reason we can even be here in the first place. Love you! Okay, on to the top 3. Number 3. Super Doom. On Earth 45, Lois Lane, Jimmy Olsen, and Clark Kent are scientists instead of reporters, and they use their smarts to build a machine that can turn thoughts into reality, which, I mean, how the heck did they think that was a good idea? I can think of 10 things right now that should never become reality. Anyways, using the aforementioned thought-to-form machine, they try to create a being called Superman, who would be capable of doing amazing things and who could save worlds. But when they are forced to sell their idea to Overcorp, they decide to rebrand and end up creating a monstrosity. Superman, the Last Knight of Tomorrow, or Super Doom. With a corporate-fueled agenda of destroying all competition, Super Doom quickly becomes the strongest super being on its own planet, and then enters the bleed space to murder all other versions of Superman. Of course, bad guys never win forever, so after defeating and devouring multiple different Supermen of multiple different Earths, he was stopped by the Superman and Lex Luthor of Earth 22, who stranded him between universes. He's since been used in a few other storylines and remains one of the most formidable evil versions of Superman to this day. I mean, he didn't even die. Number 2. Bizarro. When Lex Luthor gets the plans for a device called the Duplicator Ray, he modifies the device and uses it to try and create a clone of Superman, who will follow his every order without question. But since our Lex can't seem to do anything right, the resulting doppelganger is an unintelligent, unpredictable, backwards version of Superman, eventually known as Bizarro. Bizarro is a main villain for Superman, appearing in many stories, and I'm so glad because, gosh, he's just so fun to see! Eventually, Bizarro gets a case of the blues and longs for love, and gets the hots for Lois Lane. Lois isn't really interested, but being the great gal that she is, she uses the Duplicator Ray on herself, creating a Bizarro Lois Lane. And the two eventually leave Earth to settle another Earth-like planet they fittingly name Bizarro World. Or, and forgive me here, Hetre, which is Earth backwards, which they populate with more and more duplicates of themselves. But don't worry! They have pretty rock necklaces that say Bizarro and Bizarro Lois 1, so we don't get confused. Number 1. Ultraman. In the universe of Earth 3, things are a little turned upside down. Instead of being driven by the morals of good versus evil, the people of this universe are inspired by strength above all else. I can't really relate. Born on a dying Krypton where Kryptonians evolved to be empowered by green kryptonite to a maniacal version of Jor-El aptly named Jor-Il, baby Kal-El is jettisoned off to Earth. But instead of the classic morals, he's instead inspired by his father to become the strongest possible being with absolutely no weaknesses in himself and the others around him. When Kal lands on the farm of Johnny and Martha Kent, he uses pieces of green kryptonite to empower himself and forces the dysfunctional couple to be his parents until the totally mature age of 7, when he murders them both and sets the farm ablaze. Eventually, this self-proclaimed Ultraman murders the President of the United States of America and takes control of the world, creating the crime syndicate of America with other evil alternate versions of classic characters, including an evil Wonder Woman, Superwoman, and evil version of Batman, Owlman, who have a pretty toxic love triangle.
Number 10. Anti-living Batman. I am so torn when it comes to this zombie-like infected version of Bats. He hails from the Deceased universe, where he ends up tragically being infected by the anti-life equation and turned into a member of the anti-living, a mindless, violent zombie. However, before this happens, Batman is one of the first to figure out just what is really going on, and to try to find a cure or a way to stop it. In the end, however, he gets infected, and despite trying to slow down the infection with one of Mr. Freeze's cryo suits, succumbs to the virus. He doesn't stay a zombie-like anti-living being for long though, as Alfred Pennyworth, his butler, puts him out of his misery. Really, his whole transformation is just like making preparations, passing on vital information to those not yet infected, and saying goodbye to his son Damian Wayne. So like, he's a monster, but like it's a really sad journey getting there.
Number 9. Owlman. Owlman, or Thomas Wayne Jr. of Earth 3, isn't a monster in the physical sense, but certainly in the personality department. If you haven't heard of Earth 3, it's basically a place where strength is praised above all else, and it's home to the Crime Syndicate of America, which is the evil Justice League. Basically. Thomas is about as bad as you can get. For example, as a kid, he believed his parents were mismanaging their money, so he decided to kill them in cold blood. His younger brother Bruce protested to this, and he too was killed. He took the city of Gotham for his own through fear, bribery, and blackmail. He killed the family of Richard Grayson to make the boys susceptible to his influence. He even had a strange affair with Ultraman's partner, Superwoman. Owlman is a bad dude.
Number 8. Batman the Silenced. One of my favorite things about the DC multiverse is that we don't just have the multiverse. We also have the dark multiverse. Or we had the dark multiverse. Anyways, still, I'm confident it will return given time. Just give it enough time and everything comes back around, baby. Thank you, comics. The Dark Multiverse is like the Elseworlds' Dark Reflection, and when it comes to the anthology series Tales of the Dark Multiverse, or Tales from the Dark Multiverse, one or the other, often offered to readers in small batches with creative teams presenting their own dark realities and twists on classic DC tales. One such character and tale that gets twisted in the Dark Multiverse is Batman's Hush. In this world, the roles become reversed, with Thomas Elliot taking over Wayne Enterprises and locking Bruce away in Arkham Asylum, after Bruce moved in with the Elliot family following the death of Martha and Thomas Wayne. However, Elliot isn't Batman in this reality, but a corrupt senator and business owner. It's not a straight role reversal, working with the League of Assassins. Bruce, however, is not as crazy as he seems, and he ends up escaping Arkham and becoming the Silenced, in essence an anti-hero out for revenge on Tommy, whose character design resembles Hush. Did I mention how creepy he is, by the way? He's super creepy.
Number 7. Leatherwing. According to Earth 10's history, the Axis powers managed to achieve history in World War II. With the National Socialist Party victorious, Bruce became a willing agent of their perverse plans, taking on the identity of Leatherwing. As you can imagine, this guy wasn't too great. Holding the beliefs set out by the powers that ruled, he was against interracial relationships, he believed in a master race, and he held up the many fascist ideals of his team, the New Reichman. Thankfully, the New Reichman were betrayed by their leader Overman, who still knew that this way was the wrong way. Still a crazy racist Batman. Gives me chills.
Number 6. Red Death. Another villainous version of Bruce Wayne, Red Death also hails from the Dark Multiverse. If you can't tell, I really like the Dark Multiverse. However, he doesn't come from the Tales of the Dark Multiverse series, but is rather one of the Batman Who Laughs Dark Knights. The Dark Knights are basically like an evil collection of Batmen from across the Dark Multiverse, each one standing in or representing a member of the Justice League. Red Death represents the Flash. In his reality, Bruce Wayne was pushed to the limit after losing so many of his sidekicks, believing that he would be better at using the Speed Force than Barry Allen. He stole the Speed Force from him and then proceeded to use it to kill all of his enemies, becoming known by the speedster and villainous mantle of Red Death.
Number 5. Injustice League. Okay, so we have the Crime Syndicate of America, but there was also a team of villains put together to fight that team of villains. So, sort of technically making these villains heroes, but also not really because they're still villains. Right? The important information here is that the Injustice League, at least the one I'm referring to, was formed to combat the Crime Syndicate of America from Earth 3. The team's villainous members included Bizarro, Black Manta, Black Adam, Catwoman, Deathstroke, Sinestro or Parallax, Captain Cold, and they were formed and led by Lex Luthor. The team first appeared in Forever Evil #3 in January of 2014 when the Crime Syndicate of America invaded the Prime Earth universe and tried, and very nearly did, take over the world.
At number 4 we have the Injustice Syndicate. I know, lots of groups with Syndicate and Injustice in their names. Well, that's because this evil version of the Justice League actually exists as a sort of combination between the Injustice League and the Crime Syndicate, both of which are included in this list respectively. Appearing in Batman the Brave and the Bold, in the episode called Deep Cover for Batman, Batman manages to travel to their evil dimension and infiltrate their operations disguised as Owlman. He sees that this group comprises of an evil version of himself, along with other evil alternate versions of other heroes he knows and works with. While eavesdropping, Batman learns of their plans to, destroy other universes entirely, which of course, he feels is something he needs to put a stop to. And it can't wait, naturally. So he decides to take all of them on himself, and because he's Batman, and it is his TV show after all, he wins. Those universes can thank him later.
Number 3. The Joker League. In Emperor Joker #1 of October 2000, the Joker has gained 99.99% of the reality warping powers of the 5th dimensional being, Mr. Mxyzptlk, and he used them to completely warp the world into an insane offshoot of our real world. In this Joker world, he has put together an evil, insane version of the Justice League called the Joker League of Anarchy. The team members include some characters we've seen before, such as Bizarro #1, Enigma, who's the Riddler, Gravedigger Lad, who is actually Jimmy Olsen, Lois Lane, Harley Quinn, and Poison Ivy. He has also created completely new characters that are wholly original to this story: Ignition, Bounty, Schism, and Scorched. He even has Lex Luthor as a jester. They are basically just the henchmen of this already pretty much all-powerful version of the Joker. Just another way of keeping him entertained, it seems.
At number 2, I'm putting the Injustice League from the video game Injustice: Gods Among Us. Most of us already know how this story goes, but in case you don't, this is one of the cooler and more well-written storylines about an evil alternate version of the Justice League. In most cases on this list, these evil groups are created by an alternate reality, which is always fun but pretty simple to come up with. But this storyline shows a radicalized Superman leading the Justice League to the dark side. And like I said, this isn't because he's an evil version of Superman or one that's possessed by some evil force. He's genuinely turned to evil after the Joker tricks him into killing Lois Lane. So to combat this new unexpected evil force, Batman decides to bring in other members from the Justice League from another universe, and the result is some pretty great fighting gameplay. And right as the game was being released, a comic book series of the same name was also being released in tandem, serving as a prequel to the game. Where you can derive general story points from the game itself, most of the backstory I just explained actually comes from the comics. It's cool to see the video game and comic book worlds working in tandem, and they make a pretty cool new storyline that I figure has to be ranked pretty high on this list.
Number 1. The Crime Syndicate of America. The Crime Syndicate of America hails from the strength-obsessed Earth 3, and is a twisted, evil version of many characters who make up the main universe Justice League of America. Its members include Ultraman in place of Superman, Thomas Wayne Jr., aka Owlman, and Alfred Pennyworth as the Outsider, Superwoman, who was Lois Lane at one point and Donna Troy at another, the cowardly Harold Jordan and vengeful John Stewart, who are both Power Ring, which are evil Green Lanterns, at different times, John Allen and John Chambers separately also as Johnny Quick, Atomica, Sea King, Deathstorm, Grid, and John Johns. They come into contact with the main universe many times, and they almost always spell out bad news, as you'd expect from the antithesis to the Justice League of America.
Alright, at number 10 we have the very silly but nonetheless evil Super Enemies. In the 1970s animated TV show Super Friends, there's an episode in 1979 called Universe of Evil, where Superman travels to an alternate universe to meet the evil counterparts to the Super Friends, very creatively named the Super Enemies. And the team is made up of all those bad guys we've all known so well and grown up with. You know, like Aquaman with an eye patch, and tinted red Batman, and oh, who could forget the iconic alien monkey Gleek. What a trailblazing team of supervillains they were. But as much as I roast them, they do actually pose a decent threat to Superman in this storyline, to the point where they team up with the military armed with kryptonite weapons, and even bring in their own version of Superman, giving our Superman a good old run for his money. But luckily, Superman Prime finds something called an antimatter flask, which turns all the super enemies back to being good again. Thank God Aquaman retires that eye patch and is no longer so intensely menacing looking. What a relief.
Number 9. Justice League of Assassins. Unfortunately, this evil Justice League didn't stick around too long. Being first introduced in Superman Volume 4, number 15 in March 2017, the Justice League of Assassins on Earth 14 were a group of augmented, mostly non-superpowered soldiers led by the obviously powerful Superman. The team was made up of Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Flash, Batman, Harley Quinn, and Green Lantern. With the exception of Superman, their powers relied mainly on weapons and technology, but primarily they used advanced firearms. Ultimately, they were all slaughtered, with this Superman being kidnapped by Prophecy, which is a shame, because this team looked super cool and they seemed to inhabit a pretty dark and grim looking post-apocalypse. Could have been very interesting.
At number 8, we have the Conglomerate. This group is basically a bizarro version of the Justice League created by Booster Gold. The group is formed after Booster's departure from the Justice League International due to a lack of respect from his peers. When Booster first fails to bring together a competent group of heroes to form the first iteration of the Conglomerate, someone named Claire Montgomery comes in to manage the group. With her, she brings along the likes of Deadeye, an alternate Green Arrow, Fiero, a guy with fire powers, Frostbite, an ice power guy, Elastaman, a stretchy man, Element Man, much like Metamorpho, Scarab, a knockoff of Blue Beetle, and Slipstream, a dollar store Flash. When they engage in a small friendly skirmish with the Justice League International, the fight quickly turns serious, and everyone learns at once that these new members have actually been brought from an antimatter world called Quord, and they're basically just entirely evil, and always had been. Luckily, the JLI take them down, but it's a close one.
Number 7. Squadron Sinister. This isn't so much an evil alternate Justice League as this team actually appears in the Marvel universe. But I'm gonna count it because I'm just stubborn like that. The original Squadron Sinister was created as a sort of obvious play on DC Comics Justice League characters Superman, Batman, Green Lantern, and The Flash, with the characters Hyperion, Nighthawk, Dr. Spectrum, and the hilariously named Wizard, respectively. The team was created by the Grand Master after he encountered the Squadron Supreme, and they first appeared in Avengers number 69 when they were pitted against the Avengers in a game between the Grand Master and Kang the Conqueror. They're bad guys who are counterparts to 4 members of the Justice League. I gotta stop justifying my reasons. They're on the list. Argue with me down below if you don't like it.
Alright, at number 6 we have the Justice Lords. Appearing in the animated series Justice League in the episode titled A Better World, this evil team is led by a radicalized Superman. Radicalized because he witnesses Lex Luthor murder the Flash and threaten nuclear war. So, Superman decides he'd abandon the typical hero's code of conduct and kill the bald tyrant himself. And in this alternate universe, Lex Luthor isn't just some super rich supervillain working away in hiding, he's actually worked his way to becoming the President of the United States. So, after his death, there is a power vacuum to be filled. And who would be better rulers than this evil alternate Justice League? No one. They didn't think so anyway, so they take over and put in place a totalitarian government with the justification being that they are protecting humanity from itself. And they start calling themselves the Justice Lords, which, I mean, you should sort of know you're the bad guys when the word Lord is in your title. Luckily, the real Superman is able to catch on and take them out of power before anything goes too far.
Number 5. Frankenbat. Castle of the Bat is an Elseworlds story from 1994 that basically takes the story of Frankenstein and plops in Batman characters. So, Bruce Wayne, after suffering the death of his father Thomas Wayne, goes almost mad trying to find a way to bring his father back. He succeeds, but not in the way he or anyone else wants. Thomas Wayne is brought back to life and dresses just like Batman normally would, but with more of a gothic Victorian style. Oh, and he's a mindless, massive, undead monstrosity. He busts out of where he's being held, and it leads to Bruce having to apprehend his undead dad. The story is actually quite emotional. Check it out.
Number 4. Gods and Monsters. That's right, in the alternate reality of Gods and Monsters, there isn't really a prominent Bruce Wayne. Instead, here Kirk Langstrom, known as Man-Bat in the Prime Earth and New Earth continuities, takes up the mantle of Batman, becoming part vampire bat, part man, also pseudoscience vampire. He was attempting to create a cure for lymphoma, which did work but ended up splicing his genes and turning him into a science-made vampire. Kirk, as Batman from Gods and Monsters, does need to consume blood to survive and typically feeds on either animals or criminals to get it.
Number 3. The Devastator. On alternate Earth -1, Batman and Superman were pals, and everything was dandy. Until one day, Superman changed and rampaged, turning on humanity. Superman killed almost everyone, and Batman tried his best to help bring his friend back. But once Superman killed Lois Lane and cut off Batman's arm, there was no going back. Batman injected himself with the Doomsday virus, turning him into the Devastator, powering him to take out Superman, but also making him lose all his sympathy. He still retains all the knowledge of Bruce Wayne, plus the fighting skill, and he acts as the muscle for the Dark Knights. Truly a monstrous Batman.
Number 2. Vampire Batman. Gods and Monsters isn't the only reality where Batman becomes a vampire. Oh no. I mean, he is Batman after all, he's Batman. Obviously he's gonna be vampires a lot. He also ends up as one in his fight against Dracula in Red Rain. However, Bruce attempts to resist fully turning and giving into his monstrous side here. Instead, he attempts to hold off on completing his transformation fully, becoming a sort of Dhampir, if you will. That is until Joker kills Catwoman, who in this series is also a werewolf. Spooky stuff. Joker taking Selina's life makes Bruce snap, and he ends up feeding on him, seemingly killing him, although it would later be revealed that Joker survived this whole ordeal. Afterwards, Batman has Alfred lock him away, worried about the monster he'll become because he has now tasted human blood.
Number 1. The Batman who laughs. I know, I've talked about him like a lot, but it is for a good reason. The Batman who laughs is arguably one of the most dangerous versions of Batman who's ever lived, or been written. If you don't know yet, he is a dark multiverse version of Batman who has killed the Joker, but inadvertently infected himself with a strain of Joker toxin. The resulting transformation turns this version of Bruce Wayne into an amalgamation of Joker and Batman. All the intelligence and resourcefulness and martial skill of Batman mixed with the buck-wild, psychotic, murderous mind of the Joker. He is pure chaos and destruction, and he lays waste to his own Bat family and the Justice League. He has a pack of Jokerized Robins, and he is the leader of the Dark Knights, a few of which were featured on this list. On top of that, he is just truly terrifying to see. Number 10. Batman vs. Bigby. You know Batman, but have you ever read or heard of the Fables series? It's one of my favorite comic series. It basically follows classic fairy tale characters living in modern day New York. The Big Bad Wolf, otherwise known as Bigby Wolf, is the sheriff of their community. In 2021, we got the limited DC Black Label series Batman vs. Bigby, a wolf in Gotham, which is a collaboration between these two comic worlds, with Bigby as a main suspect for murders in Gotham. If you like the Fables world and you like Batman, you'll love this little mashup. Number 9. JSA, The Liberty Files. The Justice Society of America, The Liberty Files, is a DC Elseworlds story from 2000 to 2003, which makes it non-canonical. Any story that lets writers go outside the rules of the DC canon always makes for stories that I personally love. Alright, so what's it about? The series took characters from the JSA, but turned them into covert government operatives in World War II. Specifically, the story centered on 3 heroes: Batman, called Bat, Hourman, called Clock, and Dr. Midnight, called Owl. I know, really creative names. The 3 were known as the Unholy Three, and their mission, at least in the Part 1 story, is to find Jack the Grin, who is the Joker, who has information about the German weapon Übermensch, or Superman. Are you sold yet? Number 8. Earth 15. Earth 15 first appeared in 2007 in Countdown number 30. This Earth was basically a perfected Earth with heroes who evolved to become nearly perfect beings, with most of the proteges like Jason Todd, Donna Troy, Zod, and Kyle Rayner taking over the original heroes' roles. That is, until the events of Flashpoint, when it was destroyed by the crazed Superboy Prime. That little rascal. The still existing dimension became a graveyard universe, eventually being modified by Hal Jordan into an Earth whose heroes had personalities opposite to the Prime Earth versions. It's an interesting place for sure, and some interesting things have happened in it. Check it out. Before we go on to number 7, I got something to tell you. You're great. You guys keep hitting that like and subscribe button, you're making me blush, my goodness. Keep up that support, it helps us bust out more and more of these videos for you lovely people. Alright, moving on. Number 7. Earth 20. Earth 20, which appeared in Final Crisis Superman Beyond number 1 in 2008, is the home of Kent Nelson, otherwise known as Doc Fate. And he is so cool. Basically, he leads a society of superheroes on Earth 20, which is a group that includes Lady Blackhawk, Immortal Man, the Green Lantern, the Mighty Atom, and Batman from time to time. The history of this world isn't exactly very well known, but we do know it has just come out of a war that is somewhat like World War II. There are Zeppelins flying around in some cities, and the cars are all big and beautiful. It's got a very slick 20s style. The heroes of this world would do righteous battle against a society of supervillains from Earth 40 in a huge 5-year war. My goodness. Number 6. Batman White Knight. I cannot recommend this 2017 story enough to you guys. It is an insanely interesting and fantastic Joker story. It takes place in an alternate Gotham City, and the Joker regains his sanity after a brutal and violent forced ingestion of a medicine by Batman. The roles are practically reversed, as the seemingly reformed Joker, real name Jack Napier, becomes the White Knight, hoping to better Gotham City as a politician, while also condemning Batman as an unhinged violent vigilante. Which, I mean, it's kinda hard to argue against that point of view. He sued the GCPD for police brutality, and he worked against the 1%, who used Batman and Gotham's crime for their own financial benefit. Joker actually becomes a good guy. It's kind of insane. But there is more to this story, and I highly suggest you check it out. Number 5. Earth 5 Shazam. Earth 5 is a simpler, kinder world. A world that is more optimistic. A world where the heroes are seen as such with hardly any faults. Basically, this is the golden age of comics. Specifically, Fawcett Comics. See here, Captain Marvel is the main superhero, which gives the world the name Thunderworld. He and his family, Captain Marvel Jr. and Mary Marvel, keep the world safe from everything from the Monster Society to aliens. This version of Shazam worked together alongside Superman and Overman to recruit the Supermen of the universe. They worked together, led by Captain Marvel, to defeat Ultraman and weaken Mandrake, who was killed by the Green Lanterns. Number 4. The Shazam Who Laughs. After the Batman Who Laughs infected Shazam/Billy with a dark metal virus, turning him into a Joker-like version of himself, he is tasked with infecting Superman with the same Joker dark metal virus. Shazam goes to the Batcave and waits for Superman to show up so he can attack. Joker Shazam is easily a match for Superman and Batman one-on-one, but with the two teaming up, he is a little overwhelmed and retreats, which is odd because going by King Shazam, he takes on the Titan Atlas trying to test his new abilities and even defeats multiple gods. When he is in a fight with Ares, he even defeats and infects Lady Shazam. So doesn't really check that Batman and Superman give him that much trouble, but whatever. Luckily, he is cured thanks to Lex Luthor cutting off the source of the dark metal. But this guy was nuts and showed no signs of stopping, and that smile? It's just creepy, man. Whoa, slow it down there, friend. I see you're enjoying this video. Well, I hope you are. And if you are, that means you're gonna give it a like. Right? In all seriousness, I appreciate you guys. Thanks for giving us so much support. Okay, on to the top 3. Number 3. Mazaz, Alexander Luthor Sr., Earth 3. On Earth 3, Alexander Luthor is the Crime Syndicate's, which is an evil Justice League's, greatest enemy, and the strongest hero on this Earth. He has the ability to absorb other heroes' powers, and after killing this universe's Will Batson, he is basically the twisted version of Shazam, Mazaz, which is Shazam backwards. Take the powers of Shazam, and then add the abilities of anyone he kills. He's pretty powerful. After he kills the Crime Syndicate speedster, Johnny Quick, he absorbs his powers, then goes on to knock out Ultraman, this Earth's Superman. He then kills Deathstorm and absorbs his nuclear powers as well. Unfortunately, the magical word Mazaz works with any version of Alexander Luthor. So Prime Earth's Lex Luthor is able to defeat him using the word, turning Mazaz back into Alexander, which is when Lex kills him with a knife. Number 2. Lord Marvel. When the Wizard Shazam dies, Billy Batson takes on the role of Wizard of Shazam, becoming the caretaker of the Rock of Eternity. He looks very similar, but way cooler with all the red of his costume becoming white and giving him long white hair. In taking his place, this makes Billy equal in power to the Wizard of Shazam, meaning he can drain gods of their power and basically cannot die. The Wizard was even able to stalemate with the Spectre, who is the embodiment of God's vengeance. I think this is easily the strongest version of the character, but if we don't see that power being used, it's kinda hard to say. Number 1. God of Gods Shazam. During the Darkseid War event, after Darkseid is defeated, the pantheon of gods who give Shazam his powers is revamped. He gains new godfathers. But these guys are all really doubtful of Billy being able to harness their power effectively. But when presented with a new foe, Billy proves them all wrong. This new Shazam is able to defeat Yuga Khan, who is the father of Darkseid. While most of his powers are the same, he gains boldness, the ability to manipulate the powers of the Source, and the ability to manipulate the fires of Hrongmir. He also gains the power of the new Wizard of Shazam and Yuga Khan himself, who it is revealed is one of the new gods. All this matched with the creativity and ingenuity of being human. Number 10. Distant Fires. In the world of the one-shot comic Superman Distant Fires, nuclear war has thrown the world into Armageddon, with the resulting radiation actually robbing the superheroes of their powers. The Billy Batson of this story is actually still able to practice transforming into Shazam, but this only works for short periods of time, and each time it happens, it actually damages the Earth. When Superman turns out alive, Billy is a little less than thrilled, as before the war, he was always playing second fiddle to the Super Boy Scout. His feelings of resentment intensified to a new level though when Clark Kent and Wonder Woman fall in love, as Billy had the hots for her. This drives him to the dark side, and he joins the side of the evil mutants, even taking pleasure in killing Wonder Woman. This enrages Superman, and the two battle on top of a volcano. After his own power betrays him, Shazam is struck down by his own lightning bolt, and Superman throws him in the volcano. Nasty way to go. Number 9. Injustice Shazam. In the Injustice storyline, young Billy Batson is somewhat persuaded and bullied to be part of Superman's new regime. After several not so great decisions from Superman, including his killing of Lex Luthor that Billy aided in, Shazam turns against Superman when he decides to plan to destroy Metropolis and Gotham, as well as invade the duplicate dimension as revenge for interfering in his plans. He stands up to the super dictator, but when he mentions Lois's name, Superman goes off the handle, grabbing Shazam by the throat, freezing his mouth shut, and burning his brain through his eyes with his heat vision. Yikes! His death led the Flash and Green Lanterns to join Batman's side at least. Number 8. Just Imagine's Shazam was named Robert Rogers. And instead of turning into a handsome black-haired hunk, when Rogers yelled Shazam, he turned into a big pink demon. He gets a magical power boost, demon wings, super strength and durability, and a lovely bone necklace. Unlike being powered by the wizard Shazam, he's actually powered by the wizard Merlin of King Arthur legend, and tasked with defeating Morgan Le Fay, which is kinda cool. Fun fact, this story was actually written by Marvel's Stan Lee. Excelsior! Number 7. Captain Thunder. It is kind of confusing because there are so many versions of Shazam who use this name. Basically, Captain Thunder was William Fawcett, a kid who was given powers similar to Captain Marvel. He received his powers when the shaman Miroki gifted William a belt with a thunderbolt symbol that, when rubbed in combo with the magical word thunder, turns him into Captain Thunder. Unfortunately, after fighting the Monster League of Evil, they gave him an evil persona instead of a heroic one. So when Captain Thunder first appeared in Superman 276 in 1974, he was helping robbers instead of fighting them. It's only after Superman urges Thunder to use his wisdom to fix what happened and to make him go back to his own Earth. There was a much cooler version of Captain Thunder in the Flashpoint timeline with a sweet battle tiger, who you'd probably think of when I say Captain Thunder. Number 6. Kingdom Come Shazam. In an alternate possible future, metahumans or superheroes are now hated. Because of this, Billy Batson hasn't become Shazam in years, and is now full grown, looking a lot like his alter ego, minus the cool costume and cape and powers and stuff. He was eventually brainwashed by Lex Luthor into believing that metahumans and even the Captain Marvel inside him are all monsters. In time, Bruce Wayne tries to convince Billy otherwise, which eventually forces him to turn into Shazam once more, breaking open the metahuman prison and starting a massive war that puts the whole world at risk. After a nuclear bomb was dropped, threatening to kill thousands, Superman convinced Billy to help, and Shazam outraced Superman to the bomb, using his lightning to destroy it, sacrificing himself to save both humans and metahumans, ending the hatred against superheroes once and for all. Number 5. Earth 14. Alright, this is going to be a pretty quick one. There is not a whole heck of a lot of information out there about Earth 14, which first appeared in Superman Volume 4, number 15 in 2017. I want to talk about it because the Justice League of Assassins is just the coolest looking version of the Justice League I have ever seen, even if it was just for a short period of time. The Assassins are made up of alternate heavy weapon bearing versions of Wonder Woman, Batman, Harley Quinn, Flash, Aquaman, what looks like it could be Green Lantern, and Superman. They only last about 3 pages of the comic they are a part of, but I really hope we see them pop up in other stories because these guys are just so rad. All we saw them do was fight a bunch of gatherers in a post-apocalypse looking Earth. Number 4, Batman 89. Okay, you can fight me in the comments about this one. Batman 89 was published in 2021, but the stories take place in the Tim Burton Batman movies world. Seeing how we haven't actually seen a comic in this world, I'm gonna take this one, okay? Cool. So yes, this is that Batman and Bruce Wayne in this comic. He has the same suit from the movie, the same amazing Batmobile, and it takes place after the events of the movies. But it's more like comic heavy. It's really cool. We see Harvey Dent actually become Two-Face, Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman is back, and we even get a Robin for this universe. It's so awesome. I don't want to spoil too much, so you can probably guess what I'm gonna say. Go give it a read. Number 3, DC vs. Vampires. The ongoing DC vs. Vampires limited series that started in 2021 is such an amazing story. It just makes sense. Pit the characters of the DC universe against a growing army of vampires, a mystery around who the superhero vampire leader is. It's great. The basic premise, without spoiling much, is that Mary, Queen of Blood, who upholds the peace between vampires and humans, is dead. Whoever killed her also killed the Legion of Doom, and has made a plan for vampires to take over the world. Andrew Bennett, a vampire, went to the Justice League to tell them about the army of vampire supervillains. There's a vampire Gorilla Grodd, like, come on. The story has a large Batman and Bat family presence, as a story about vampires should, and for a story so grim, it actually has some really funny moments. Especially from Damian Wayne, as I'm sure no one is surprised by. Number 2, DC Bombshells. DC Comics Bombshells is an awesome story from 2015 that focuses on a reality where a team of female superheroes fight on the side of the Allies during World War II. It actually first came to be because of a line of statuettes released by DC with superheroines wearing retro 40s inspired costumes. They were so popular that they moved to variant covers and then they got their own series. Each hero has their own style and story while still all being part of this bigger, wider alternate World War II story. It's truly awesome and mainly follows Batwoman, Wonder Woman, Supergirl, Stargirl, Zatanna, and the Batgirls. Go give it a little gander, would you? Number 1, Dark Knights of Steel. And now for my favorite. Dark Knights of Steel. Swords, sorcery, superheroes. Dark Knights of Steel is a story that actually came out this year, that's 2022 if you're watching this from the future, but is set in an alternate medieval fantasy universe. Batman is an actual knight and half Kryptonian. Like, I'm just in love. Okay, so basically, Jor-El and Lara escape Krypton before it is destroyed and crash land on the medieval Earth, and eventually become the rulers of the land after giving birth to Kal-El. It's wild. There are alternate versions of Green Lantern, Supergirl, Harley Quinn, Robins, Alfred, Constantine, Green Arrow, Joker, Green Lantern, Black Lightning, and more. I love to see comic book publishers do these time-displaced stories. It's great. Number 10. Earth 3. The post-Flashpoint Earth 3 is similar to its pre-Flashpoint Earth, but way better. This Earth is the birthplace of evil. The mentality here isn't good versus evil, it's more like just evil. Strength is respected more than anything else, with the weak basically being annihilated. Instead of the Justice League, Earth 3 is home to the Crime Syndicate of America, whose members include Ultraman, Superwoman, Owlman, Power Ring, Johnny Quick, Sea King, The Outsider, Grid, and John Johns. Earth 3 was reintroduced in 2013 and has played a part in Darkseid War in 2015, Dark Knight's Death Metal in 2020, and in 2021 it was reborn again in the Infinite Frontier story. Like I said, when we started, the DC universe is complicated, but what's remained the same since 2013 is that some of the coolest stories come out of Earth 3. Number 9, Earth 1. Earth 1 and the number 10 pick are probably the oldest of the Earths and universes on this list. Earth 1 first appeared in 2008 in its New 52 form, but it introduced a whole spectrum of readers into the DC universe, and sales for its comics were through the roof. So I believe it deserves a spot on the list. Here, superheroes are all younger, and they all just started their superhero careers. Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, the Teen Titans, and Green Lantern all have graphic novels that take place on this Earth, and they are all just fresher takes on the almost overdone superhero origin stories. With the characters all being younger, it was also very easy for younger readers to relate to, and gave the characters conflicts that they wouldn't have faced as their prime Earth counterparts. Number 8. Injustice Universe. The Injustice Universe of Earth 22 is the universe in which the events of the Injustice video game and its related comics take place, and it first popped up in 2013. So here in the Injustice world, Superman went a little bonkers. After the Joker tricked Supes into killing both Lois Lane and her unborn child, plus unintentionally blowing up Metropolis, Superman murdered the Joker and eventually became a tyrannical ruler of Earth. The Batman of Injustice creates an insurgency, eventually enlisting the aid of another Earth, Earth 1 of this reality. With the alternate Earth's help, he overthrew Superman's regime and rebuilt the world. And that's all just part of the first game. Number 7. The 53rd World. The 53rd World, named by the smart primates who live there, was a world unknown to the rest of the multiverse. It's set in a near future where presumably the world is inhabited by super smart apes, like Planet of the Apes style. Oh, and also, immortality was achieved in 2067, meaning that yes, all these ultra smart apes are immortal. We know that there exists alternate ape versions of Superman, Batman, the Atom, and Aquaman. The existence of this Earth was first revealed in 2018's Dark Knight's Rising: The Wild Hunt, when Detective Chimp was beginning to lose his intelligence. The ape heroes show up, recruited by Raven, Cyborg, and the Flash to help with the dark multiverse, saying they were here to help. Obviously. Detective Chimp, accompanied by the apes of the 53rd Earth, plus Flash, Cyborg, and Raven, go to help Earth Zero's Justice League fight the dark multiverse forces. That's kind of all we know about the 53rd Earth. I want more super apes! Number 6. Archive of Worlds. The Archive of Worlds isn't so much an alternate Earth, it's actually an artificial multiverse which contains pocket dimensions in the form of film reels. Now that's just kinda nuts on its own, but then take into account the fact that it was created by a mad god, Artur Io, who is the god of Tales, who is jealous of the new god of Tales, which is the internet. It's pretty nuts. He tried to steal the new god's soul and was instead encased in a Wayne Tech satellite where he created the Archive of Worlds. First appearing in Batman/Superman Volume 2, number 16 in 2021, the pocket dimensions include a world where Superman never came to be, as well as one where Batman never came to be, a world based on Hell, a Western world, a world based on the life of Alana Strange, and so many other unnamed worlds. Auteur.io eventually was cured by Batman, and he instead became Observer.io, which is a lot nicer.
Halfway through into number 5, Batman Bloodstorm. At one point, Gotham City was attacked by a group of vampires led by Dracula. However, the vampires were defeated by Batman, who had become part vampire in the struggle. The Joker later lured the surviving vampires out of their underground lair and convinced them to allow him to be their new leader. The vampires accepted, and the Joker appointed a vampire named Creech to be his second in command. The Joker and his new gang then set out to conquer Gotham's underworld. Their first target was Cardona. The vampires ambushed Cardona and his thugs at their hideout, drank their blood, and transformed them into Night Stalkers like themselves. But yeah, you heard that right. The Joker of Earth 43 is Batman's archenemy, and a non-vampire leading a pack of vampires through fear. The ability to lead a group of vampires through fear is absolutely nuts, because like in every incarnation, vampires aren't really afraid of anything, aside from maybe other vampires or like steaks. Like nice medium steaks. That was a bad joke. You know what I mean, right? Like this is, how crazy is this version of the Joker to try to do that? I don't know. Like holy damn, or I guess unholy damn. Let's go on. And at 4, Dark Knight Returns. Like most incarnations, this Joker is a psychopathic mass murderer who is Batman's archenemy. Following Batman's retirement though, he gets confined to Arkham Asylum and falls into a catatonic state. But when Batman returns 10 years later, he comes back as well for a final showdown with the Dark Knight. It's unknown how he knows that he's back, but he just wakes up. The final showdown between the two ends in the Tunnel of Love, in which Joker hysterically stabs Batman in the stomach several times. But mid-stab, Batman instinctively breaks the Joker's neck just enough to paralyze him, but not kill him. Joker encourages Batman to finish him off, but Batman won't do it. So the Joker then finally says, "See you in hell," before, in a last act of revenge against his enemy, twists his own neck just far enough to kill himself, and framing his enemy for his own murder. Isn't that wonderful? That's freaking nuts. Who snaps their own neck to frame a guy? Okay? This is one of the freakiest scenes in all of comics. Like, what the living hell? And at 3, a serious house. In the world of Arkham Asylum, a serious house on a serious Earth, the inmates of Arkham Asylum have taken over and seized control of the staff. They're willing to release the hostages, but only if their one demand is met. Batman must be turned over to them and become one of their own. Commissioner Gordon informs Batman that the patients of Arkham Asylum have taken over the building and will kill the staff unless Batman agrees to meet with them, and the patients are of course led by the Joker, who kills a guard to spur Batman to obey his wishes. Two-Face meanwhile has degenerated even further into madness, and Batman is forced into a game of hide and seek and told he has 1 hour to make his way through the maze-like corridors of Arkham and find a way out before his old foes are sent after him. Yep, yeah. The fact that Joker is just leading a whole gang of prisoners who have taken over Arkham is absolutely insane, and then the art style of this comic makes it one of the freakiest depictions of the Joker to date. Like, you've been seeing it, it's nuts. Penultimately, in at number 2, The Batman Who Laughs. The story of Batman of Earth 22 was not much different from that of any other version of the Caped Crusader. When he was a boy, Bruce Wayne watched his parents get murdered in an alley, vowing vengeance against crime. So he trained for years and became the hero Batman, fighting supervillains in Gotham City. Everything went sideways though when Joker started a killing spree across Gotham. The clown had discovered that he was dying from the same chemicals that had turned him into what he was, and wanted to make everyone die with him. He killed all of Batman's enemies, including the Penguin, Catwoman, Killer Croc, the Ventriloquist, a lot. Joker also killed Commissioner Gordon, who accidentally sprung an acid trap on his notebook and it melted his face off. After bombing a hospital and recreating the scene of Bruce's parents' killing in front of him multiple times, Batman lost control and broke the Joker's neck. Unbeknownst to Batman though, the Joker exhaled a toxin contained in his heart, which infected anyone close to him if he died. In this case, it was Batman. This caused him to snap and basically become the new Joker, taking over Earth 32 and later on, gaining cosmic power. Yeah, cosmic power. Joker. But also Batman. No thanks. And finally, in at number 1, Death of the Family. When the Joker became obsessed over destroying the Bat family, he decided to arrange for his face to be surgically removed. According to the Joker, he did this to symbolize that even without his mask, he was still the Joker, whereas Batman, Robin, and Batgirl's identities were only mask deep. To see this through, Joker arranged for the serial killer known as the Dollmaker to remove his face surgically in Arkham Asylum. The Dollmaker sent his, son to do the procedure though, only for the Joker to kill him by tearing out his throat with his teeth. Dollmaker later went on to actually remove his face since Joker refused to do it any other way, but the two actually arranged to celebrate his rebirth before leaving the clown's face on the cell wall for Batman to find. Joker would later use straps, clips, and pins to retrofit the flesh back onto his face in a form of mask, which he wore over his now exposed tendons, hiding the way he looked, because honestly that might have been a little too much. Joker would also remain in this mask for the remainder of his plan to destroy the Bat family, a mission which ended in a dinner party in the Batcave. And I think it's fairly obvious why this is number 1. Even without cosmic power, a man getting his face removed only to turn it into a mask to wear it again? No thank you. Not to mention that this is also the face that Joker's daughter ends up wearing, I'm pretty sure. So, no.